Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. Today, we're going to be talking some NBA trades, most of it revolving around Devin Booker. And our first trade we have is with the Phoenix Suns trading with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sheldon, why don't you break it down for us?
Yeah, obviously, the Booker to Wolves rumors have kind of really heated up since they acquired D'Angelo Russell back in February for Andrew Wiggins and some draft capital. And, it makes a lot of sense. The three of them said that they do want to play together in a Slam magazine article, I believe it was. Obviously, all really good friends. And I think that the fit does make a lot of sense offensively, too. Booker can function as a shooter when Russell has the ball in his hands. Russell can be, an attacker off the dribble and off the catch, too, out on the perimeter when Booker has the ball. And I think Cat plays pretty much well off of any guard in the league with his skill set. So I think that there is some traction here. This is obviously going to be dependent on Booker asking out of Phoenix. Phoenix isn't just going to be shopping their star player. But there have been some rumblings, as has been around in the news. And I think here, obviously, Booker would be going out to Minnesota in this trade. And then here we're kind of looking at things that would match money. So we got James Johnson, Culver, Layman. At this point, we're at 24 million. So this right here could go through based on money. But I think the Suns would also ask for Josh Okogie, a promising wing defender. Him and Culver are kind of the two main players in this deal. And at this point, you see the money's almost essentially even. We're within $1,000 basically, but I think the Wolves would be incentivized to get back under the tax at this point while taking in a max. So I think it would be one of these three players right here between Evans, Spellman, and Vanderbilt. We'll just put Vanderbilt in there. And at this point, the Wolves would not only be acquiring Devin Booker, but getting back under the tax line to prevent them from being a repeat tax offender and really saving themselves a lot of money long term for ownership, obviously going through a potential sale. I think that's an important aspect to keep note of here. And then you look at this trade, and obviously, this isn't what the value is for Devin Booker. So you're going to have to include pick one for sure. Pick one will be going to Phoenix in this trade. And also pick 17 would be going to the Phoenix Suns as well, likely from Minnesota. Minnesota's in a situation where they would have to, pretty much lay everything that they have out on the table for Devin Booker once he's even requested a trade. So, it's not the most likely thing. What do you see here, Austin, based on kind of what this package looks like for D-Book?
I think overall it's an okay package for the Phoenix Suns. Like you said, it's dependent on if Booker wants out. Assuming that he is content with where he's at, considering how well they did in the bubble, then obviously you do not make this move just to make the move. You want to keep your star with your organization if you can, because I think you lose this trade if you do ultimately do it. But obviously it depends on circumstances. For them getting Culver and Okogie as nice young wings possibly that they could develop into. I think people overrate Josh Okogie in general, and Jared Culver did not perform very well last year, so you're kind of banking on him turning it around and becoming a stud. So that's kind of what you're hoping for with this trade. You're obviously going to get some picks with it, which is nice. Obviously, it's a tough trade and tough situation for Phoenix if he wants out. But considering how the bubble went, he might not want out. He may still want out. It kind of depends on where Devin Booker wants to be in terms of like relationships with his teammates. Obviously, Towns and Russell love Devin Booker, and they would love to all play together. A lot of times in the NBA, it's a relationship-driven league. That's how we see guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron get to play together. Wade and LeBron, a lot of different things revolve around relationships off the court, and that generally turns into success on the court. So, we've seen that work time and time again. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Wolves with their current roster construction. I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team, but if they make this move, they will be a playoff team in my opinion. They'll probably be anywhere from a 6 to an 8 seed, maybe possibly a 5. That's assuming a lot goes right for them, but I think they'll be a lower level team in the West. But getting Devin Booker would be absolutely huge for the Wolves.
Yeah, like you had kind of laid out there, I think this trade's really, dependent on both Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell really leveraging the chance to play together. To Devin Booker, I think that the off-court pressure there for Booker would have to come from those two in order to him request a trade, and he'd probably be pretty direct with the Phoenix Suns. and tell them, hey, I want to play with Cat and D'Lo. So either you guys got to get them here, which just isn't going to happen with what Phoenix's assets really look like, or you got to send me there. And at this point, that would be the more likely option between the two. Obviously, Booker, he's an interesting asset. He hasn't gotten to the playoffs before, so we haven't seen him play playoff basketball, but he's got all the scoring skills you really need. He would fit well offensively with what the Wolves have. And I think for the Suns too, you'd have to be really, really set on a guy at one that you think is, probably going to be the best player in the class, whether that be Anthony Edwards. Probably wouldn't be a big since they have Ayton. But then you're kind of looking at a retooling of, you got Culver, Okogie, Oubre, Rubio, Ayton, Baines, and then whoever you use at pick 17 in addition to, pick one being maybe Edwards or maybe LaMelo Ball. So your team could look, pretty solid. You're going to be a little competitive. But again, you're not going to be a playoff team. You're probably going to hit that reset button a little bit once Booker wants out. They do have pick 10 as well, so that could be interesting. Maybe they get a collection of guys like Edwards, Kyra Lewis, and maybe even go big man at 17 or like a Precious Achiuwa, someone who's a little bit more versatile in the front court to play next to Ayton. But ultimately, the Suns would be looking at probably another 2 or 3 years at least until they get to the playoffs, which is probably their ultimate goal at this point. And I think Booker getting moved just isn't super likely. And like we've said multiple times, it's really just dependent on him asking and essentially forcing his way out of Phoenix. Moving on to our second trade option here, we have the Suns and Nuggets striking a deal for Devin Booker going to the Denver Nuggets. And in turn, the Suns get Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., PJ Dozier, and also pick 23 this year, I believe, is what the Nuggets have from the Houston Rockets, as well as a future 2022 top 7 protected first-round pick. Where do you see kind of here for Booker and the Nuggets, Austin?
Yeah, so this trade, I think is actually a little bit worse than the Wolves offer because a lot of people are extremely high on Michael Porter Jr. Obviously, his offensive skill set and upside is, pretty good. However, like his defensive quality of play, it's not good at all. Like he cannot play defense. He's not an effort guy. I feel like if anything, he has quite a bit of an attitude. I'm not a high Michael Porter Jr. guy anymore. Gary Harris is really a nothing in this trade. Honestly, it's not a phenomenal offer. And if I'm Phoenix, I'm saying no to this right away. And I mean, if you're Denver, I mean, you're super, super excited about getting Devin Booker for this collection of players. However, we think a lot of people in the Denver organization are very proud of their Porter Jr. pick, and they might not be willing to do it because they like Porter. But it's really hard to know currently with what their management's thinking. But I think this is a must do for Denver if you get offered this.
Yeah, obviously this trade's pretty dependent on how a team feels about Michael Porter Jr. The Phoenix Suns might see this and laugh because they might think that Michael Porter Jr. is just a starting level player, starting level wing. Or at the same time, they could feel like maybe Porter Jr.'s got some star potential to him and could be possibly the best single asset they could get for Booker. If they felt that way, they'd be more apt to pull the trigger on that. But you're taking a pretty big gamble there if you're Phoenix. And to the Nuggets, they also might feel that Porter Jr.'s got, some star potential. He's cheap for a few years. And maybe he could grow into that third star in Denver. But I think if I was Tim Connolly running the Denver Nuggets here, I'm looking at Booker as a guy who's going to fit really well next to both Murray and Jokic, my 2 best players at this point. And I think he's going to give us another dynamic score out on the perimeter that when Murray's not on the floor, you can run your offense through Booker and still have Jokic involved with him. And I think that would be essentially a no-brainer. But like you had mentioned, they love Porter Jr. and many believe he's untouchable at this point, which I think is a little ridiculous for an asset like Booker or possibly Bradley Beal. I think you have to put your chips on the table there and really try and compete. And Booker's window fits really well with their other young stars. But if they're not willing to do it, that could be a lost opportunity. And I think the Suns probably would be between these two teams, honestly, for what their best returns could be for Booker. Obviously, the Warriors could be in play, but I don't think that they'll pull a trigger there. It would be something along the lines of Wiggins and the Wolves pick next year and pick 2 this year, which is a pretty good asset return. But I don't think teams are going to be really lining up to send a player like Devin Booker's quality to Golden State, who spent half the decade in the NBA Finals. So I think that'll be something we don't see. I think the Nuggets and Wolves will be players. Let us know down in the comments below if you think Devin Booker will get traded, where you think he should get traded to if he does, and which one of these two big threes would be the better one of the two, with Jokic, Murray, and Booker, or Cat, D'Lo, and Booker. Obviously, would be an interesting team to watch, whichever one he would go to if he did get traded. At this point, I think we both agree that he'll probably be a Sun for the next couple of years still at this point, but anything can happen in the NBA. And we're moving right into the offseason here with trades opening up November 16th. So we're looking forward to that. Make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you guys for watching the video.